Hey guys, so today we're going to be completing the square. We're going to review it because I know it was a little crazy. I'm going to go over the first 2 pages of the attachment that I sent you, and then your job is to go through and try the homework problems, okay? But I want to walk you through what the next steps are, okay? So completing the square, again, this we are going to review. We're going to be reviewing a lot when A is greater than 1. There were a lot of you that were making some mistakes, so we're going to hopefully kind of fix those up. But we're going to take this one step further and actually solve it and get an answer, okay? So we're going to go through basically these steps. I'm going to show you what we do slightly different for vertex form. That's going to come here. Okay, so in vertex form, this step is a little bit different. Okay, but let's go walk through this problem. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to, just like we did before, we're going to get rid of this 5. So I'm going to move the 5 to the other side. Keep in mind you're adding it so it becomes positive on the other side. There were some of you that were missing that piece, okay? So 4x squared plus 8x equals 5. Now, if we were going to go into vertex form, so if we were going to do vertex form, we would be factoring the 4. So we would do 4 like this. This time, though, we're going to actually divide the whole thing by 4. So I'm going to divide this side by 4 and divide that side by 4. Okay, so when I divide 4x squared and 8x, remember you have to divide them both, okay? I'm going to get x squared plus 2x, and I'm going to leave this as 5 over 4. Fractions are a lot easier, and I'll show you the method to the madness in a minute, okay? All right, so now let's go do half of b, square it, add it to both sides. So half of 2 is 1, squared is 1, so we're adding 1 to both sides. I'm going to go ahead and write it in factored form. And when I add 1 over here, I'm really adding 4/4. So this is going to give me the same thing as 9/4. Leave it as a 9 over 4. Don't change it to a decimal. Leave it, okay? So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to square root both sides, but then it says something about both cases. So if you go back a couple of units when we solved with square roots. So remember, when we do the square root, we're going to get x plus 1 equals the positive 3/2, and x plus 1 equals negative 3/2. There are 2 cases, okay? There's a positive and there's a negative. Okay, so now that I'm here, I'm going to go ahead and subtract 1 from both sides on each of my problems. So 3 over 2 minus 2 over 2. One of my answers is 1/2. Negative 3 over 2 minus 2 over 2 becomes a negative 5/2. And there are my 2 answers. Remember, with quadratics, okay, you're going to get 2 answers every single time. Okay, you're going to get 2 answers because remember, the picture, you have 2 zeros. Every now and again, you only get 1. I'll show you what that looks like in a little bit. Okay, all right, let's go do it again. So number 1, we're doing it again. I'm going to get rid of this 6, and over on this side, it becomes negative. Okay, so 2x squared minus 8x equals negative 6. Now I'm going to divide everything by 2. Divide both sides by 2. X squared minus 4x equals negative 3. Now I'm going to complete the square. Half of 4 is 2. 2 squared is 4, so I'm adding a 4 to both sides. This minus is going to come down as a minus. Negative 3 plus 4 is 1. Now I'm going to take the square root of both sides. So when I square root both sides, right, I square root this one, I'm going to get 2 answers, a positive and a negative. So I'm going to have x minus 2 equals positive 1, x minus 2 equals negative 1. I can add 2 to both sides. I'm going to get an answer of 3, add 2 to both sides, or 1. Okay? All right, let's keep doing it. Number 2, let's do it again. I'm moving this 48 to the other side. It becomes a positive 48. I'm going to divide everything by 3. So I'm going to get x squared minus 18 divided by 3 is 6. 48 divided by 3 is 16. I'm going to take half of 3, or half of 6, which is 3. 3 squared is 9, so I'm adding 9 to both sides. So I get x minus 3 squared. 16 plus 9 is 25. When I square root both sides, I get 2 answers. X minus 3 equals positive 5. X minus 3 equals negative 5. I'm going to add 3 to both sides. Okay, I should get x equals 8 and x equals negative 2. Okay, couple of things to remember. Okay, first of all, when you go to get rid of c, okay, you need to make sure that you are changing the sign on the other side of the equal sign. Okay, so when you get rid of c, change the sign. Okay, a lot of us sometimes forget that. Second thing you need to keep aware of and keep in mind is that when you do the half squared thing, so half of b and then you squared it, this should get added to both sides. Some of us forget that step. Okay, and then the last thing that you need to remember is that when you take the square root, you should always get 2 answers. Okay, you should have the positive and the negative. Okay, let's go do one more together and then you can try number 4 on your own. So let's do it again. I'm going to get rid of c and I'm changing the sign. So here's my minus 34. It's going to become a plus 34 on the other side. 6 plus 34 is a 40. So now I'm at 5x squared plus 10x equals 40, and I'm going to go divide by 5. When I divide by 5, I get x squared plus 2x equals 8. Okay, now I can go and do this half squared thing. Half of 2 is 1. 1 squared is 1, so I'm going to be adding 1 to both sides. So I get x plus 1 squared. 8 plus 1 is 9. Now I'm going to square root, and when I square root, I should have 2 answers, one positive, one negative. So I get x plus 1 equals to positive 3, x plus 1 equals negative 3. Subtract 1 from both sides, and I get a 2. Subtract 1 here, and I get a negative 4. Okay? So go ahead and take a minute. Go try number 4. All right, there I go again. I'll leave you always, right, on the harder ones. So let's just double check, right? So I moved my 3 over, divided by 4. Half of 2 is 1. 1 squared is 1. And so I need to figure out what negative 3/4 plus 1 is, which is why there's a 4 over 4 right here. And I get a 1/4. When I square root both sides, I get x plus 1 equals the positive, and then x plus 1 equals the negative. And your 2 final answers are negative 1/2 and negative 1/3. All right, Ms. Hunsicker. So what happens if we end up with irrational solutions, and what does that mean? Okay, so what that means, while we're trying to get focused, what that means is that these are not going to be pretty numbers. When you do the square root is a decimal, okay? It's not what we call pretty. What we want to do is we want to leave our answers in exact form, okay? Which means no calculadores, okay? No calculators. Calculators we're not going to use. We're not going to plug in, okay? So let's go take a look at number 7. The process is still the same, but we're going to do a square root, and it's not going to be pretty, okay? So let's go get rid of this. So I'm at 2x squared minus 16x equals negative 22. I'm going to divide everything by 2. So I get x squared minus 8x equals negative 11. Okay, keep in mind, right, you can leave this little plus blank in there. It will help you, okay, just like we did before. Half of 8 is 4. 4 squared is 16, so we're adding a 16 over there, okay? And what happens is we get x minus 4 squared equal to a 5. And our next step, I'm scooching over, I'm getting ready, I'm excited. But our next step is to take the square root. And here's what I mean. The square root of 5, it's not pretty. Do not use the calculatore, okay? No calculators, we're gonna leave it. Our first equation, because remember, we're gonna have 2 equations, okay? Our first one is gonna be x minus 4 equals the positive square root of 5, whatever it is, whatever decimal that is, okay? And then we're gonna have x minus 4 equal to the negative square root of 5. Again, whatever that is, whatever that decimal is. What we're going to do now, because again, we're trying to get x by itself, right? We're going to go ahead and add 4 to both sides. Now, square roots and numbers work like terms do. You cannot add these together. 4, let me go put this over here. The square root of 5 plus 4 is not the same thing as 4 times the square root of 5. This is being added, this is times. Those are not the same thing, okay? Typically, though, when we write our answers, we always write them in the form of the number plus the root, okay? That's what that's called, the square root of 5. We call it root for short. And so I want to write positive 4 and then plus root 5. That's this answer right here, okay? When I go to write this one, same thing. I want to write the number, and then I want to put the square root. So this answer is going to be positive 4, and then a minus root 5. Okay, so I don't know if you can see how these two are related. One of your answers is 4 plus root 5. The other one is 4 minus root 5. Okay, let's go do it again. Let's go do number 8. Okay, same thing. Let's get rid of the negative 12. So now it's a positive 12. Let's go divide everything by 4. Okay, so I get x squared plus 10x plus, I'm going to put that blank in there for some of you that still need it. Okay, 12 divided by 4 is 3. Half of 10 is 5. 5 squared is 25. So I'm adding 25 and a broken pencil to number, or to the 3. Okay. All right, so I have x plus 5 squared. 3 plus 25 is going to be 28. And now I'm ready to square root both sides. So I'm going to have x plus 5 equals the positive square root of 28. And I'm going to have x plus 5 equals the negative square root of 28. I'm going to go ahead and subtract 5. So this answer becomes negative 5 plus root 28. I'm going to subtract 5 over here, and I get negative 5 minus root 28. Okay, now this is not simplified. We're going to talk about that another day. If you can't get the 28, you can't get the simplified version, okay? Go ahead right now. I want you to pause your screen. I'm going to pause it too. We're going to go check number 5, number 6, number 9, and number 10, okay? All right, so I went ahead and turned the light off so you guys could see a little bit better. I know sometimes the light, it makes the pencil really super shiny, and so it's a little bit hard to see. So I went ahead and turned the light off, but I just wanted to show you, first of all, don't use your calculator, okay? Because some of these numbers, they really are better without. Okay, but if you take a look up here at number 5, you should have gotten an 81 over 4 that is easy to take a square root of. You should have gotten, for number 6, a 49 and a 4, which is also easy to take a square root of. Okay, so check your answers to 5 and 6. And then go ahead and go down and check your answers to numbers 9 and 10. Okay, so numbers 9 and 10. And I want to show you something kind of neat with them, but numbers 9 and 10, I went ahead, I divided by the 31, right? I got a 32 after I added the 1 to both sides. And then you write your answers like this, right? 1 plus root 32, 1 minus root 32. And then when I went to do this one and I got my 2 answers, I was like, wait a minute, There's a shorter way to write 4 plus root 5, 4 minus root 5. There's a shorter way to write negative 5 plus root 28, negative 5 minus root 28. There's a shorter way, and so that's what I did here. So it does become negative 3 plus or minus root 13. Now, the only other thing that I really wanted to show you is for those of you that are ready to kind of put it all together with the next steps. I'm going to turn the light back on, but I wanted to show you really quickly. Numbers 8, numbers 9, this is what you're going to do, okay? So first of all, your answers are negative 5 plus or minus root 28, okay? But I want to take this 28 and I want to change it to a root 4 times 7. And then I can pull this apart to a root 4 times a root 7. And what's the square root of 4? 2. So this answer becomes 5 plus or minus 2 root 7. So if you guys want to take it to the next level, that's what I want you to do. Okay, let's go do that with this one down here. Okay, your answers are 1 plus or minus the square root of 32. And so let's go break 32 down. If I break 32 down, I'm going to get the square root of 16 times 2. You want to try to break it as far down as you possibly can. So this is going to be the square root of 16 times the square root of 2. The square root of 16 is 4. So this becomes 1 plus or minus 4 root 2. Okay, so again, if you want to take it to the next level, if you don't get a 28, you're not going to get a 2 root 7. If you don't get a 32, you're not going to get a 4 root 2. Okay, so I hope that helps a little bit. I hope that you guys have some fun. Please let me know if you have some questions on your assignment. Adios, adios.